Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
10 minutes before 8 is the time. Well, we're taking your votes and whether you have confidence in the government, not in Boris Johnson. We know which way it's gone for him, and we'll return to that in just a moment. But with Boris Johnson's departure, of course, the Conservatives need a new leader. We will get ourselves a new Prime Minister, and one of the people in the running is now Chancellor of the Exchequer, Nadhim Zahawi, who joins me now. I've not had an opportunity to speak to you since you've been appointed Chancellor. Congratulations on that, and good to have you on the show, Chancellor. Can I ask you, though, we move to the next round of voting. We won't need telling that, of course, today. And currently, the public declarations of support put you almost in the relegation zone, a long way adrift from Rishi Sunak, Penny Mordaunt and Liz Truss. Why do you not imagine you're proving so popular with your colleagues? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
We had 2 hustings last night. We've got another one today. My team is positive and confident and working hard, as I am.
You're not answering the question there, respectfully,
Well,
Chancellor.
I'm going to tell you.
Here we go. Why would you not have more public declarations of support?
I'm about to tell you.
Thank you, sir.
We've got a big field. It was obviously even bigger last night before it dropped to 8 brilliant candidates, diverse field. Wonderful to have 4 women, 4 men, and of course the great ethnic diversity. I'll do my best. I can't focus on other people's campaigns. All I can do is give it my best shot. I have the track record of delivery. I delivered the vaccine programme. You know that. I focused the Department of Education on skills, schools, families. And I'll do the same as Prime Minister. I've got 5 pledges. The first one is to cut taxes to reduce the cost of living. I'm going to bring forward the basic rate cut, the 19p, to next year, when I hope to see inflation abate, because we are taking measures now, fiscal discipline now, to make sure that happens. I'm working obviously with the Bank of England governor on that. Lower energy bills. I want to pause for 2 years VAT and green levies on energy bills. I think that's the right thing to do. Of course, we still have to meet our net zero targets by 2050, but there are ways of being smart of how you meet them, including, of course, investing in renewables and nuclear. I'm a chemical engineer by background. Third pledge is increasing defence spending. We have war on our continent. Very few people anticipate having war on our continent.
To what level, Mr. Chancellor?
2.5% of GDP by 2025. That is my pledge, because we have to make sure we also wean ourselves, as I said earlier, away from Putin's oil and gas. And of course, the fourth one, as a businessman, I want to partner with business. I want a review by business for business of all the European bureaucracy that we inherited, that is on our statute books, and see what we can remove to make this country the best place to invest and to start a business and grow a business. And the last one is really getting tough on crime. The police are focused on violent crime and on cyber crime. They do a great job. But when they arrest the criminals, they tend to get clogged up because our court system is not working properly. I'm going to invest in that, £350 million in our courts, legal services, and of course the criminal bar, so that we can clear that backlog. And those are my 5 pledges, and I hope my colleagues are listening to your programme and will be voting accordingly.
Well, I can assure you that many of your colleagues do listen to my programme, because I sometimes get texts and tweets.
I know that.
I get texts and tweets to tell me how I'm doing on a fairly regular basis from a couple of them. I won't share their names, but you can probably guess. Well, it's interesting that you want to clear the backlog. Can we clear up something else? There seems to be great excitement about accounts for Zahawi and Zahawi Limited, a company that you and your wife set up. £23 million in loans approved by banks in 2021. £32 million in loans coming from other creditors, according to the Daily Mirror. Who are those other creditors?
So my wife runs the business. All our accounts are published. They're a British company, a UK company. The creditors are British banks, and there is no offshore creditors of any sort in the company.
The suggestion that there is going to be an HMRC investigation into is unfounded.
So I will always answer any questions at HMRC. There was lots of smear thrown at me that
there was, and I just want to nail this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said it. I went on Kay Burley's show and did 40 minutes with her, answered every single question, including Margaret Hodges' questions. I pay my taxes. I declare all my taxes here in the UK. I've never been a non-dom. And, of course, I will answer any questions from HMRC. And as I say, I make a pledge that if I am Prime Minister, I will publish my tax returns annually so that every other candidate, I hope, will pledge the same thing.
All right. You mentioned some hustings last night. At one of them, I understand Rishi Sunak indicated he would look at scrapping the BBC licence fee in the future. Would you, Chancellor?
Well, I think we have to review how the BBC is funded, and the BBC has to look at how it becomes sustainable in the future. I think that's the right thing to do. The BBC leadership think that's the right thing to do. The world has changed. It is no longer a world where people, have 3 channels and the BBC is dominant and everyone has a TV set in their room. That's how they consume media. These little things, Nick. In my hand, the Chancellor Exchequer is waving a mobile phone. Remembering a lot of this are radio listeners, they're not all visual. On you go, Chancellor.
Well,
Exactly.
it looked like a mobile phone. I hope it was, anyway.
Have changed, and how people consume media has changed. I think the BBC needs to work out what its future business model. What is its future way of raising revenue? And I think that's important because
so you would consider scrapping the fee.
Well, we have to review everything. Nothing's off the table.
Right, so it could be on. Okay. And at another hustings meeting, because of the issues that have had over the policy, so-called Rwanda policy, some candidates were talking about the possibility of withdrawing from the ECHR, European Convention on Human Rights. Would you support such a move were you PM, Chancellor?
So I was asked the question at another hustings, as you quite rightly mentioned, and I said nothing's off the table. What I hope will happen is the legislation, the domestic legislation that Dominic Raab is introducing will allow us to deliver the Rwanda policy. It's an important policy to deliver, Nick. My parents fled a tyrant called Saddam Hussein, arrived in the first safe country, which is the United Kingdom, and they put down roots here. And I now sit as the Member of Parliament for Shakespeare, the heart of England, and the Chancellor of the Exchequer in this great government and a great country. The people who are being exploited coming across in those small boats, putting their lives at risk, have actually already arrived in a safe country called France. And so we need to break that business model of those criminals. And the way you do that is by operationalising and delivering that Rwanda policy. The one thing you know about me, Nick, if I'm Prime Minister, I am, if nothing, someone who can deliver. And I promise you we can deliver this policy and land it well.
You rightly speak of your background. Someone else has been speaking in the last few days over their background. I speak of Sir Mo Farah, who we now know the true story of how Mo Farah, as we know him, got to this country. There is a possibility that the Metropolitan Police now might investigate his arrival here and speak to his, single quotes, parents here in the United Kingdom. Should that be police action?
Well, last night on your radio station, when I was asked who's your favourite sportsman, I said, Mo Farah this week. What a story. Remarkable. I just don't think any of this, if Mo Farah doesn't want it investigated, then it shouldn't be. I think we need to talk to Mo Farah because he is a great man. He's been through an extraordinary life. What a harrowing tale. I thought my journey from an immigrant boy from Baghdad to this great country of ours was an extraordinary story. But what he's had to go through, what he has had to endure, in my view, should make him the priority for all of us. And the police need to talk to Sir Mo Farah first before they do anything else.
A couple of other questions. If or when you became Prime Minister, Chancellor, would you offer Boris Johnson a job in your cabinet?
Boris Johnson is a friend of mine of 30 years. If he wishes to serve in cabinet, then I would certainly offer him a job. He has been probably the most consequential Prime Minister of his generation. If you go back to Margaret Thatcher, John Major, then Tony Blair, and of course Gordon Brown, and then David Cameron and Theresa May, and now Boris Johnson. He's delivered Brexit. He got us through a global pandemic.
Has he delivered Brexit, Chancellor? If I say three words to you, Northern Ireland and the word protocol, has Brexit been delivered, Chancellor?
And the chairman of my campaign is Brandon Lewis, who will deliver the protocol bill, which will give us that leverage that when we enter a negotiation... I'm one of the few candidates that has negotiated with the EU Commission during the vaccines. It's only when they realise that we have leverage do they actually take negotiations seriously, which is why the bill that Brandon Lewis was taking through Parliament, the protocol bill, would give us that leverage so that we actually have a fair shot at a proper negotiation. If we don't, then actually the protocol bill is in place and we just carry on.
We started speaking regularly during the pandemic when you were made the vaccines minister, and as you rightly say, you successfully deployed, and I'm sure you'll be the first to admit, with the assistance of our great military services and the NHS, you got the vaccines out there. You, I doubt, will need telling that the COVID numbers are on the increase, dramatically on the increase. Speaking as a former vaccines minister, what needs to be done, and will we soon be wearing masks again, or what sort of measures might be brought in, Chancellor?
There is a spike, you're absolutely right. And the big difference this time is that we have the antivirals, we've got the vaccines, we've just signed a really big deal with Moderna, which delivers one of the best mRNA vaccines. Of course, we've got Pfizer as well. We're in a strong position. I think we are in a place where we can manage this virus in what is technically termed endemic rather than pandemic. And I think we can, as we have demonstrated, be able to live with it. As Boris demonstrated, again, actually, there were lots of people pushing him to close down the economy when the Omicron variant hit, and he didn't. And we wouldn't have had a Christmas opening. You imagine the loss to GDP. Figures look good today, but of course I'm not complacent at all. But nevertheless, I still think we can manage this virus successfully with what we have now in terms of both antivirals, treatments, and of course the vaccines themselves.
Last couple of questions. Of course, your world now is one of economics and economists. They were saying that there could be growth in the economy for May by around 0.2%. Actually, as you may be aware, Chancellor, we've had the figures out within the last hour, just on over actually, 0.5% in May. Chancellor, what do you take from that?
It's very positive. We've seen services grow at 0.4%. We've seen actually production grow at 0.9%. We just put manufacturing at 1.4% and construction at 1.5%. We've seen hauliers do well. We've seen travel do well. We've seen care do well. But we're not complacent. There are still headwinds, Nick. The gas price in Europe really does worry me because our gas price is very much linked to European gas prices. The Governor of the Bank of England is focused on making sure that the increase in interest rates is as temporary as we can make it to get inflation back under control. Inflation is the one thing that would hurt us, and we have to make sure it abates and abates quickly, which is why fiscal discipline in public sector pay, my message to all the public sector workers, the brilliant public sector workers, is we have to be fair and disciplined and I will, in the next few days, be saying more on this because the public sector review bodies have reported back, and I want to get this done and dusted, as do the public sector workers. They want to know that what their pay packet's going to be very soon.
And lastly, from the lofty world of economics right down to everyday matters, can I take you not literally to toilet or toilet matters? The public overwhelmingly want to keep separate toilets. A poll today saying 98% do not want so-called unisex loos. Where are you on that, Chancellor?
I think we should keep separate toilets. I think it's really important that women and women's rights continue to be protected, whilst we deal with all other protected characteristics and in a sensitive way. But I think it has to be a priority. I wouldn't want to risk the safety of women in our society.
Grateful for your time. I've spoken to you as Vaccines Minister. I've spoken to you as Education Secretary. Who knows what the next title will be when we next speak. Nadhim Zahawi, thank you for your time appearing here on LBC. We're at 3 minutes after 8. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, the number